You are listening to the Aging Options podcast with elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich. As the best-selling author of Your Retirement, Dream or Disaster, and host of 2 hit public television specials, Rajiv Nagaich has emerged as a retirement planning thought leader known for his willingness to disrupt the status quo. In this weekly podcast, Rajiv Nagaich offers piercing insights about the hidden traps in traditional retirement planning advice, along with straight talk about the problems during retirement that money, investments, estate plans, and insurance products don't address. If your retirement plan has been all about saving money, creating an estate plan, and buying long-term care insurance, what Rajiv Nagaich says may surprise you.
Hey, welcome to Aging Options, the podcast talking about all unusual things that we never think that we are going to deal with. And lo and behold, we start dealing with them. So here, let me introduce you to a caller who had called on the radio show not that long ago, talking about her husband being in a nursing home and all the mayhem that goes with that. So here goes.
I need your help. My husband has Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. He's on Medicaid, and he's been in a Federal Way nursing home for 2 years. Now, DSHS has denied coverage for a period of time due to me and the nursing home not reapplying to their annual application because neither of us received the application in the mail. And because my husband's name is still on some stock statements they had accepted the previous year. I and the nursing home complied with all their demands for documentation. It was like a book full of it. But we're denied for 2 months Medicaid. Now the nursing home wants payment now of $16,600, which extremely jeopardizes my financial future. I'm 80, and I don't know if there's any other resources. You got any suggestions?
All right. Did you get that? I mean, nobody is going to get Alzheimer's. Not us. Our neighbor will get Alzheimer's. Our friends will get Alzheimer's. I'm not the one who's going to get Alzheimer's. So how prepared are you if today this was your story? Either you or your spouse, or if you're alone, you were dealing with dementia issues of any sort, Alzheimer's, frontotemporal lobe dementia, Lewy body dementia, anything. If you had to deal with this issue, how well prepared are you? What would you like to see the outcome look like, even if you dealt with dementia? I bet you would want to probably be saying that even if I get dementia, please don't put me away into a nursing home against my wishes and make sure that I don't go broke paying for all these care costs. Because what is this call about? The call is pretty simple, right? I mean, going along just fine in their life, and one day the husband gets Alzheimer's. Well, probably the wife took care of him at home as long as we possibly could. And then eventually, it becomes too much. And so when it becomes why does it become too much? 24/7 care, 365 will become too much for just about anyone. So then she starts looking in the community, what are my options? And she ends up placing her husband in a nursing home. Right? Pretty soon, she gets him on Medicaid, fills out a few papers. It's a 4-page application in the state of Washington. He applies for it. They approve him for Medicaid. And so everything is going okay. And then Medicaid wakes up one day and says, oh, we made a mistake. You're not going to qualify for Medicaid. And because you didn't fill out this form. It could be any number of technical things. And there's so many gaffes that this caller had made in the Medicaid application. Here's how Medicaid works. Let's just be clear about that. In the state of Washington, indeed in most states, the rules are somewhat similar. The numbers may be different, but the rules are somewhat similar. For the husband to be on Medicaid, he can only have $2,000 to his name. So clearly she figured this out, and the social worker working in the nursing home said, okay, let's move everything out. But here's what they probably didn't pay attention to. When you first filed the initial application with Medicaid, between the husband and the wife, the rules are husband can only have $2,000, but the wife can have one house of any value, one car of any value, between $70,000 to $150,000 and other assets, some numbers in that realm. And you can have a funeral plan, burial plots. You can have $1,500 cash value in a life insurance policy, and you can have an unlimited amount of income. The spouse can. So on the day that we are applying for Medicaid, the government is looking, between the husband and the wife, do you have a house? Do you have a car? Do you have about $150,000 to $153,000? And they give you 12 months to move all the assets out of the husband's name, put in the wife's name. So in the application process, most people who try and do this on their own, they somewhat figure the rules out that a husband can only have these assets. But in this case, the wife forgot to tell the government that even after the 12 months were over, there are some assets still in the husband's name. Probably some eagle-eyed worker at Medicaid took a look at the asset sheet and said, these assets should have been moved out. I see no proof they've been moved out, so we need to deny this application, and application denied. And they were denied for two reasons. Every year in Medicaid, you have to certify that my husband's $2,000 status has not changed. It doesn't matter whether you know it or not. You're presumed to know it when you're applying for Medicaid. At the very beginning, they tell you every year there'll be an annual assessment. And you have to fill and send us that assessment. And they didn't fill it out. And then somebody probably in the Medicaid system figured out that, maybe he is overqualified, that stock or something in his name puts him over $2,000, so he does not qualify. And they imposed a 2-month penalty. Now, I don't know all the details, whether that is right or wrong. Maybe they were wrong in that. Maybe they were right in that. I don't know. Maybe they were wrong in that they didn't impose the penalty long enough. Maybe there's a longer penalty that I don't know that situation. But you don't want to be in these situations. The question that she is not asking, which you should be asking in her situation, she's asking the same thing. The nursing home now wants me to pay them $16,600, which will devastate my own retirement. We're not talking about millionaires up here. We're talking about small to medium-sized estates. We're banking on every penny that we have. And if you're going to be looking at Medicaid, to you, if you're not in the situation, how do you not be in the situation? You look forward to the rest of your life, not just the next 3 to 5 years. And ask yourself, what do you want in the rest of your life? Oh, well, I want to stay as healthy as I can, as long as I can. And while I'm healthy, I want to be able to travel, spend time with friends and family, do fun things. I don't want to end up in a nursing home, become a burden, or die broke. That's probably what you should be saying to yourself. If you say that, if that kind of connects with you, which it does almost certainly, to rich, poor, in between, doesn't matter. Most of us want to live a long, healthy life without the fear of being put into a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, or dying broke. That all connects with everyone. Then ask yourself this question: if today you ended up in the hospital, and the nurse in the hospital is now coming with good news, you're going to be okay, but you shouldn't go back home. You need to go to a rehab center. Here's a list of 7 rehab centers. Pick the one that you want us to transfer you to. What would your answer be? But more importantly, what will the answer be coming from your child, from your spouse? No matter how much you want to probably avoid that move, you would prefer to come back home. That's not the option that will be given, and probably for the first time, the family will be grappling with this issue. Won't it be a nice day if you had planned all these moves in your planning and said to your family that the day that a nurse in a hospital says to you, which rehab center do you want to send your mom to your dad to? Your answer will be, I don't want my mom, dad to go to the nursing home or to a care facility. I want them to go back home. I don't know how to do it. So I'll give you the name of a social worker, of a nurse, of a case manager who does this for a living. They'll work with your discharge department and they'll help us figure out what will it take to go back home. And may not be possible for you to come back home. There is a time when a nursing home is the right place to be. There is a time when a rehab center is the right place to be. But if your family had to pick from a list of 7, 8 nursing homes or rehab centers, how would they know which is the right one, which is the wrong one? Saying that I don't want to end up in a nursing home and having a plan not to end up in a nursing home are two very different things. Saying that I don't want to be a burden and saying that I have a plan not to be a burden are two very different things. Saying I don't want to go broke and having a plan not to go broke are two very different things. And chances are that if you work on your retirement plan, what you will find is you probably have all the pieces of the retirement plan with you, but they probably are not going to work together. Why not? Here's why not. Your problems in retirement, like this lady is talking about, as long as she and her husband were healthy, everything was okay, wasn't it? It's when the husband had Alzheimer's, she tried to take care of her home, that health issue, Alzheimer's is a health issue, sooner or later became a housing issue because she couldn't take care of it at home. She put him there. Then that housing issue becomes a financial issue. She thought she did everything right, got him on Medicaid, but Medicaid says, no, what you did was not good enough. You have to pay the nursing home $16,600 out of pocket. And she's saying, from where? Health issue became a housing issue, became a financial issue, because we just want to try and cobble it together, not knowing all the details to the rules. And if you're lucky, somebody at that time will point you to, which is what this lady is doing. Go call an elder law attorney. And your gut reaction at that time will be, I don't need a lawyer. I have all my legal documents. No. These lawyers will do different work than your documents. These lawyers will help you cope with the crazy expenses that can just wipe out your estate. But if you go to the right elder law attorney, what they will help you realize that besides saving money, important, but more important, how do you take care of your husband so he can live as good a quality of life as possible under the conditions without you going broke in the process and without you losing your sanity in the process. But we don't ask the questions or approach planning from that perspective. Therefore, despite the fact that we have all the pieces of the plan, they never work together. And that's where life planning comes in. The point of planning is not just look at the happy years that you're going to have or the healthy years that you're going to have. The point is to look at everything. How do you secure your happy and healthy years? And how do you ensure that if sometime in retirement you were to fall ill, that you will not get railroaded into going to some care facility against your wishes, that you will not become a burden to your spouse, to your children, or to your loved ones, and that you're not going to go broke paying for this type of care because you either misunderstood the rules or you never paid attention to the rules to begin with. If you do the planning properly, you should have an overwhelmingly high probability that you will be able to live out your life in your own home without becoming a burden to your loved ones or going broke. But today, the reality is with all the pieces you've got, you have a 70% chance that if you were to fall ill, end up in a hospital, you're not coming back home. You're going to some care facility where you don't want to be. There's a 69% chance that you will become a burden to your loved ones because look at this lady. She doesn't know what to do now. And there's almost a 100% guarantee that you and I will lose some of our assets to uncovered medical and care costs. And a few of us are going to get wiped out in that process. You don't need to be that person. Listen to this podcast. Go to AgingOptions.com and use the resources there. You can build a much better future for yourself than your neighbors are or what the other average American retiree is dealing with today. But you can do different because I will make sure we can give you the knowledge. This kind of makes sense to you. Share this video with a few friends of yours. Forward it to them. Like us on Facebook. And go to AgingOptions.com to get more information. And stay tuned for more episodes on Aging Options, the podcast.
Hello, producer Alec here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Aging Options, the podcast. If you would like to know more about this topic and many other topics surrounding retirement, aging, and how to ensure that you're able to live out the retirement you deserve, please head on over to AgingOptions.com. If you want a comprehensive, deep dive into planning your retirement and don't want to wait until next week's podcast, I highly recommend Rajiv's best-selling book, Your Retirement, Dream or Disaster. You can find both soft and hardcover editions on the AgingOptions.com website. Please follow us on social media at Aging Options. If you want to see this podcast in video form, you can find us on YouTube, also at Aging Options. Until next week, age on.